somehow they extend it to
Franklin, are you there?
Armed men or armed gangs. Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, so look, not too long ago in Ghana, I think earlier this week, we had a situation where policemen had to run for their dear lives because the type of guns the armed robbers were using could not match this. In fact, when they clocked their guns, the guns didn't function, so they had to run away. I keep saying that if we do not properly resource your units that normally would have been dealing with this type of crimes, frustration sets in. But anyway, while I've said all of those, there's no excuse really to gun down people who are going about their normal lives and going about their normal duties. I think the reaction of the Nigerian government itself was below par, and I was disappointed that the president took that long to respond. And in his response, he also did not really acknowledge the fact that these crimes had been visited upon innocent citizens. Of course, he did say he lamented the loss of lives, but one expected some level of, should I call it, condemnation that was commensurate with the crimes that were perpetrated. I've just got to add quickly, though, that there was certain narrative coming from the government or some supporters of the SARS movement trying to suggest that the persons who were killed were thugs, or thugs have infiltrated the movement. The fact of the matter really is that if you focus or follow the story carefully, you realize that the thugs were rather those who had access to SUVs who were killing people, right? So essentially, thugs are not necessarily economically low-life people. They could have been enhanced thugs whose livelihoods would have been enhanced by the sort of accoutrement they have in order to visit mayhem on innocent people. So there must be a full inquiry, and I think the officers involved must be punished. But the Nigerian government needs to take the full shame. And as for the ECOWAS chairman, he can only say much, really. He can only advise, really. And so for me, yes, the calls to him were legitimate. And even when he made the call and called on both sides to end the violence, he was checkmated immediately by my good friend, who said, look, Mr. President, as ECOWAS chairman, please know your facts. The thugs or those who were armed, those who were causing violence were not the ordinary people who were demonstrating. It was the thugs who were attacking the people who were quite violent. But you see, our president and ECOWAS chair can only be diplomatic in his language and ensure that the situation did not flare up. If you look closely around the world, what is rather sad is that yesterday, midweek from this midweek up until yesterday, protesters in Poland were against the fact that the laws have been passed to ban abortions, right? I mean, the two may not be necessarily the same, but I'm just putting the we're comparing the two scenarios, right? I mean, the police could have said they were overwhelmed by the numbers and then decide to just start shooting protesters. But you see a stark difference in terms of how human movements and human demonstrations are organized in both instances. And I think we should be doing a lot more of that.
All right. Thank you very much, Franklin, for that. Let me return to the studio and speak to Barry. Barry, so there were statements from across the world, leaders talking about what has happened, urging your president to resolve the issues. How else do you think they can help in resolving this issue? Do you think the statements they've issued are enough?
For me, initially when this started and people were calling on the president of the chairman of ECOWAS, our own president here, His Excellency Akufo-Addo, to speak up, I felt yes, he needs to. But if you look at what happened in Mali, it took a long time before ECOWAS got into the matter, and before you knew it, a lot of things have started happening. People have started being killed and all that. But again, I believe that every country with its own sovereignty has the mandate and the empowerment, to settle its own issues. This matter, sincerely, shouldn't have gotten to the level where it is right now. If initially when this matter started, our president, he would have come out instantly, even though he did that SARS has been banned. Then the next 2 days, the IGP of police said that SWAT, another acronym. Possibly people were saying that SWAT is just removing the clothes and putting it on another one to another bin, and they form SWAT. They could have managed it in such a way that people would have confidence. I'm saying that there was no need for other African countries to even get involved in this matter if this issue was solved the way it was supposed to be solved at the initial stages. So yes, they have spoken, but they should go beyond speaking. I believe they have a personal relationship with the president, even if it means arranging 2-3 delegations to come down to Abuja to have a one-on-one sitter with the president. Sir, these are the issues. Your people are saying that they no longer have trust in the government. Your people feel that unarmed protesters who have been at Lekki Gate. Now, can you imagine? The same day that the military came was the same day the Lagos State government put on a curfew. Yeah. You announced a curfew around 10 in the morning, that the curfew will start about 5 hours later. Yeah. Lagos, if you've been to Lagos before, it's a very busy city. People wake up as early as 3 a.m. every morning to go to work. Sometimes they take up to 5 hours to get to their destination. There was no way you could have announced such a curfew at that period and expect everybody to be back home. Now, those people at Lekki Gate have been there unarmed for days. The same day, that place, no matter how dark the whole environment is, there's always 24-hour light there, powered by the system. Can you imagine that within the period, the lights went off? Yeah. Even though the letter came out to say that the lights were not put, it was only the LED. I don't understand that. Why must it be that same day? There were also some insinuations that the CCTV cameras that were installed at that place to monitor things were also removed, even though the monitoring of the Lekki Gate came out to say that it was not CCTV. What I'm saying is that it shouldn't have happened at all. This shouldn't have happened. This should have needed the interference of any West African government. No need for that. But
there's a huge level of mistrust between the youth and the government.
That's right.
Do you think at this point that matter can be resolved between the two parties?
It can. It's a bit late. It's a bit late, sincerely, but I believe that it can. The leadership of the country, that's why everything falls on leadership. Leadership. The minds of the people would have been searched if when the president made a statement 2 days ago, I read something on Facebook, on my own page, what I could have done or what I could have said if I was the president.
What?
There's no need being too arrogant.
You think he's been arrogant?
I feel so. That's my personal opinion.
Based on what?
Even if you feel that people were not killed, even if the president felt that, according to what I'm hearing from their own end, that the military was saying that nobody was killed. Nobody was killed, that people were rather injured. Now, even if you feel that we are lying, that nobody was killed at the Lekki Gate, but you confirm that people were injured, I think that it is normal to have come out and even apologize to the people. I wish you read the message. You read the message of what the president said. It was like threatening us not to come out anymore. Telling us of the economic programs that he has set up to empower the young people.
Yeah.
That there are channels for us to benefit from the government. Empower this one and agree this and that. But I'm saying that the way it is now, people are very annoyed. Our hope was on his message 2 days ago. We are thinking that with that message, even though we have called on him to make this statement for far too long, it took almost 6 days or 5 days before this happened. He could have used that opportunity to let the people calm down, give them hope, apologize, specifically mention the Lekki massacre. Like I said, even if you felt nobody was killed, it's your right. But people were injured. Apologize to them. Give us a promise and assurance that everyone who was involved in this must be prosecuted. Again, we are asking that everyone who was also harmed or families that also lost their people, we want full compensation for them. This matter cannot end like this. That is why Henry Shield is telling you that by Monday, they are ready to take their case to the United Nations office in Abuja because they felt that the president's message was not enough to calm them down. So if I was the president, my statement couldn't have come in that manner. I could have appealed to the young people. Listen, let me tell you, the entire African continent is built by the young people. Watch out during elections, watch out during campaigns. It's the young people, whether for good or for bad. It's the young people they use to perpetrate evil. It's the young people they use to also win elections. So we hold the high percentage of power within this continent. You need to be appealing to us. And I'm again saying that even though we expect this from the president, the young people also need to calm down. They don't need to also take laws into your hands. Burning state infrastructures, killing the police, harming the police, for me, I think is also out of place. But we know where these people came. The genuine protesters were not involved with this. So going forward, I think the president needs to come again. He needs to come again. He needs to talk to us in a way we can understand. He needs to appeal to us. People are still annoyed. As of yesterday in Lagos, people are still burning things. That's to tell you that the matter is not dead yet.
So
even
you want
with
the president to apologize?
The president needs to come again. He needs to appeal to us. He needs to let the young people to calm down, that things will be worked out effectively. He needs to give us assurances that anyone who was involved in this, whether from the military or from the police, will be fully prosecuted. He has to give us assurance also that anyone who got injured among the protesters, that they are even willing to take over their hospital expenses. And at the end of the day, the short-term plans that we need for total restructuring, for instance, the police, maybe most of them are not being funded appropriately. The police have to be funded. I think I don't know if it's the Honorable or Frankie Cudjoe who was saying that possibly some of these guys do this because maybe they are not properly funded. So we are saying that that's what we talk about, police reforms. The police should be properly reformed. The police should be properly equipped. Everything that needs to be done to ensure that the police, especially any extra unit that needs to be formed, they need to maintain their limit. The police have no right asking me where I'm carrying my laptop that I go to the office with. They don't have any right to ask me where I'm carrying my BS. I might decide to do that. So the police should know their limit.
How early or soon do you think this whole issue can be resolved?
Basically, there are short-term promises, there are long-term promises. Short-term promises, for me, I think among the short-term promises, the IG of police should be sacked. The chief of army staff should be sacked. That's my personal opinion, because I feel that Fulani herdsmen are still killing people over Nigeria. These are among the agitations. People are not safe in some part of the country. And we are saying that we need new heads. We need new people to drive this reform. So we have the short-term plans, the ones that can be achieved within the next 1 to 3 months. Let it start. Let it kickstart. And the one that may take a longer time, let the young people be involved in the committees that will be set up across the states. We want to be involved. We want to air our minds, getting the human rights people, getting the young people, getting the clergy, getting people who have been at the forefront of this agitation. Let us be part of the policies that will help in achieving the desired end based on our different agitations. That is what I think may calm down the minds of the people.
But you still hold the view that you do not need any outsider to help in mediating this?
I suggest,
parties can do
I just made an opinion that for me, I think at this time, the ECOWAS heads might decide to send a delegate because it's getting to a point. They may need to send some delegates to Nigeria. They don't need to wait for what happened in Mali to happen before they now brought in the former president of Nigeria, Goodluck Jonathan, as a committee, peace committee to move on to Mali. No. Even 2 days ago, Guinea have said a certain kind of demonstration against the president for seeking a 3rd term, extending the constitution to seek a 3rd term. Things are happening in Guinea now. In Cote d'Ivoire, the same thing. So I'm saying that the ECOWAS chairman can decide to set up a committee, 3-4-man delegation, to move down to Abuja, to sit down with our president and speak the minds of the young people and advise him on a better way forward.
All right, I'll be taking more views on this when we return from this break we are taking shortly. This is the Big Issue on 97.3 City FM. We are talking NSAS. Henry is still on Zoom with us, as well as Chukemeka. He's the executive director of WANEP. After the break, we'll hear from them before we wrap up on this topic. Don't go away. You're welcome back. This is the Election Bureau. The program is The Big Issue. We are on City FM and City TV. Thank you so much for joining us. You can be part of the conversation by sending us a WhatsApp message via 0549 986 996. On television, there's a number that'll come up on your screen shortly. And also via any of our social media platforms, you can use the hashtag The Big Issue. I'm going to Henry Shield on Zoom now. Henry, a while ago you touched on the president's statement, President Muhammadu's Buhari statement addressing what has happened. Did that statement do anything for you, the youth of Nigeria?
The president did not address Nigerians. The president only came to massage his own ego. That's the only thing he came to do. He didn't address the citizens. He didn't address the families that lost loved ones. He didn't address those that were traumatized by the invasion of a peaceful protest by the military. The president only came there to tell us that he was still a military man. That's the only thing he succeeded in doing. For a president who spent 12 minutes addressing the citizens, no mention was made of those who died, whom his own soldiers killed. The essence of his address was absolutely nothing. He didn't address us. He only came to show that he was still in charge, because if you read his address, which I listened to from the beginning to the end, we had a president who is totally disconnected from the agitation of the Nigerian people. We have a president who does not even understand what is going on. The president lacked what do you call it? The president lacked, I didn't see any emotional intelligence, because when the nation is mourning, Hillary Clinton spoke. Almost all the artists have been speaking from all over the world. Players are speaking, footballers are speaking. The whole world has risen up to say, why are you shooting your citizens? So when you come on national TV, what any sane president, what any thinking president will do, number one, acknowledge that there is a problem. Acknowledge that, okay, Nigerians are on the street, they are agitating, but acknowledge that first. Number two, tell them that you, as their president, the only reason you are called president is because people went under the sun and the rain to make you president. You are not president because you woke up and decided to call yourself president. Your legitimacy, your power, your mandate comes from the streets, comes from the people, comes from the citizens. So you are not the Lord of Manor. You are not a king. You are a democratic president. Your legitimacy is derived from the power that the people on the street give to you. So you do not come and address them as slaves. You don't address them as conquered people. There is a disconnect, and I've noticed that about President Buhari. You know, anytime there's a burning issue, let me give you a very sad example. The main protest has been happening in Lagos. Lagos is the commercial nerve center of Nigeria, if not Africa. Lagos is where you have your ports, is where you have your in fact, all the economy of Nigeria is in Lagos. Do you know that Lagos has been boiling? The governor of Lagos has not been able to reach the president on the phone. It shows you what we have in Aso Rock is not a man who actually came to serve the Nigerian people. A state is burning. The governor, the duly elected governor of that state, duly elected, has been trying, he said he has called the president severally. He could not reach the president. What is the president doing in the state house? Who is he busy with? What exactly are his functions in the government house? If the governor of a burning state cannot reach you, then what is your phone for? You understand it? There's a total disconnect between the president of Nigeria and the Nigerian people. He does not have an idea what is going on. He does not care. Because this is the same president that left Zamfara. that left his home state of Katsina, that left Kaduna, that left all the states that were bordering in Nigeria and flew down to Mali. On his way, we advised him, on your way from Mali, go and visit your own state, the state in Nigeria that are burning. This man left from Mali and went straight down to Aso Rock and locked himself up. It took 12 days. It took the dying of Nigerians. It took the shedding of blood for the president to address us. And even in addressing us, he did not acknowledge the death of his own citizens. This is not a president. This is not a president. This is a man who is here for his own personal reasons. Because if you are a president, if one of your citizens is killed, you will stand up for that citizen. Because why? That citizen remains one of those who made you president.
But Henry, in that statement, he spoke about a number of things he has done to make the lives of the Nigerian youth better. For instance, he says he's created a 95 billion naira National Youth Investment Fund to provide opportunities for the youth, medium, small enterprises survival fund, among others. And he says these are things the youth can take advantage of, since also part of the agitations has to do with making the lives of the youth better, unemployment and other agitations.
I think this is part of the BAbena. This is part of the problem that
all right.
I'm asking you to your police to order, right? We are telling you to release all illegally detained people. See, it is only someone who is alive that can even access any government funds. It is someone who is alive. We are asking you for the basic minimum. Keep us alive first. We will accept all these funds, the 75 billion naira they're talking about. They've only paid 20 or 25 billion naira. That's what the only thing they've released to the Ministry of I think Ministry of Youth. Only 25 billion for a youth population that is over 75% of the general population of Nigeria. See, there is insincerity on the part of the government. All the programs we have outlined, all the ones they have been championing for the past 5 years, we challenge the president to bring out the list. Let us see the beneficiaries of those programs that he has brought. That is, by the way, that is just an aside. I am saying that the reason that Nigerians came out was not for you to come and bribe them with 75 billion. No! We came out to ask you that no police should terrorize us on the street again. We came out to ask you that for everybody that has died, I was just giving you an instance. I can mention the woman's name. She has not seen her son for 3 years. 3 years. In a nation that is governed by law. She went to the court, the Federal High Court in Metama here in Abuja, got a court order asking that the police should come and prosecute the boy. The police flaunted that court order. We cannot live in a society where any harm of government would think it is greater than our law. The only thing that makes you the police for me to respect you is because the law empowers you to keep law and order. So if you will disrespect the Constitution, why on earth should I obey you? Why? So what we are asking the president to do, in case he does not know why children of innocent children have been on the street for the past 14 days, Mr. President, we want a reformed police. Mr. President, end SARS. Mr. President, end SARS. We do not want to be killed because we are driving good cars or because it doesn't even need to be good cars. These rogues can just enter your house, break down your door. I will send you enough videos. They will break your door, come into your house, hold you, ransack, take your bank app and transfer money to themselves. I mean, these are horrible things that you hear. You cannot even hear them in places like Yemen or what do you call them? You understand what I'm saying? So I am begging. What we need, Mr. President, President Muhammadu Buhari, we are not asking you for money now. We are asking you to protect us as your own citizens. That's all.
Henry, do you trust that President Muhammadu Buhari and his government can give you what you're asking for?
No, I do not. I do not. I do not believe that he has the capacity. I do not believe that he has enough humanity in him to actually consider that a man who left all the states in Nigeria that were burning. There was a bomb blast in Lagos. The governor had to fly from Lagos to Abuja to come and show him pictures. What exactly is the president doing in Aso Rock? So what is he doing?
How then can this issue be resolved if you do not trust that he can do what you're asking for?
We are submitting our petitions to the United Nations. We are calling on the international community to come and save us. To come and save us. We are on our knees. We are begging them to come and save us. This president, listen, like Barry told you, there has been enormous killings since he became president. It happened in 2018. It happened in 2017, 2016. Nigerians are being killed on a daily basis. There is a part of Nigeria today where you cannot drive on the road. We have ceded those parts, our own sovereignty. We have ceded it to bandits and to terrorists and to Fulani herdsmen. So this president, number one, is he has an affinity with all the service chiefs that is not explainable, that is very inexplicable. We cannot say why you will keep your service chiefs for 5 years. All their classmates have retired from service. The juniors have retired. The second level juniors have retired. The third level juniors have retired. These men have not brought peace to Nigeria. These men have not brought security to Nigeria. These men have not been able to keep anybody safe. We have bandits, we have terrorists, we have Boko Haram, we have Fulani herdsmen. They have not been able to bring security to Nigeria, but the president is still keeping them. So I do not see this president as sincere enough to want Nigeria to be secure. I do not. There is nothing in history that has pointed to that fact that this president actually is sincere about security. Listen, the chief of army staff has no business remaining in office. No business remaining in office. The chief of naval staff has no business remaining in office. The chief of air staff has no business remaining in office. We are talking about people's lives. In southern Kaduna, they kept killing people every day. We had on October 1st, we had to go and do a protest at the US Embassy to call on the international community to come and see what is happening in Nigeria. Our president is not protecting us. Our president does not even care if all of us are wasted. So we had to go to the US Embassy to go and kneel down and beg. Because that is the only thing we can do. We cannot carry arms, we cannot carry guns, we cannot do anything. We have a president that does not want peace himself. He does not want it.
Henry, so you say you'll go to the US Embassy and beg the international community to come save you. What does that entail in saving you from what you're experiencing now? What exactly do you want?
Okay, what we want is we have a president that for the first time in the history of our country, let me explain it to you. Nigeria is divided to north and south, right? The north are predominantly Muslims, the south is predominantly a Christian-based area. Since this man came in, all the security chiefs, the NIA, Nigerian Intelligence Agency, the DSS, the Department of State Security, the police, the army, the Air Force, the every security agency in Nigeria, apart from one, is headed by his own brothers from his own region. That is the first time this is happening in Nigeria. So you know that the man is more interested in regime protection than in actual governance. Regime protection. He is scared of what happened to him in 1984. So if we have an instance where, imagine you attend a National Security Council meeting and they are using one language to do the meeting in a country with diverse ethnic groups. So number one, the president from the onset has shown that he is not interested in the whole of the country. He is only interested in his own people and protection of his own regime. So we want what they don't want. What the government of President Buhari fears most in this world is international embarrassment. That is the only thing we fear. If you look at what if you look at his presidential, so-called presidential address 2 days ago, he was more interested in what the international community will be saying about Nigeria than what the parents of those who have lost their lives were going through or are still going through. So if the US will step in, if the UK will step in, if the international community will step in, the president will sit up.
Okay.
That is the only thing he listens to. He does not listen to any traditional ruler, he does not listen to any former head of state, he does not listen to any former president, he does not listen to civil society, he does not listen to religious leaders, he does not listen to the citizens. The President Buhari, only fears the international community.
Okay.
So we are taking to the international community to come and talk to him for us.
All right.
Keep us safe.
Okay. Emeka, they are asking for the international community's intervention. Do you think that's the way to go?
I think it is important that we are circumspect in the kind of things that we ask for. Secondly, it is also important that we factually check some of the information that we put out there. Some of the things that my brother in the studio is asking for is already being implemented, whether it is to have more youth in the committees at the state level that is reviewing this process, or some of the asks from the protesters that he's still alluding to are actually being implemented. Things have gone pretty wrong. And let's be very clear, the end SARS is only but a metaphor. The end SARS is only but a trigger for deep-seated structural systemic issues that have been going on in the country. And I think it's also lessons for other African states. I've traveled to over 85% of African states, and I can tell you for sure that the stories are the same. And I think that the mythology around what the youth in Nigeria have done is to begin to awaken African leaders that the docility of the youth, in my opinion, is over. And people are beginning to ask some critical questions. You see, the truth of the matter is that it would be extremely unfair to dump the blame about what is happening in Nigeria today on just this government. What people are asking is that the resources, the enormous resources in the country, whether in the past or in the present, have not been equitably used or distributed. It is not about President Buhari. It is about a systemic issue that needs a collective thinking to be able to address. I think that while we have established a lot of gaps in what has happened, the youth and those who are in the forefront of this protest, they also need to do something a little bit more. In my opinion, by now we should have profiled all those that lost their lives, all those that got injured, and all those that lost one property or the other. We need to profile that. When you are engaging the states, you need to be ahead of the states and you need to be smart about it. A lot of pictures and gory stories have emanated from social media. Some of them not even events that took place in Nigeria. The ones that took place in Nigeria, we are not even 100% about them. So it is important that we profile it so that we can engage from a point of strength. And that we can be smart about how we tell the government to their face that this is exactly what happened. So that when they say nothing happened, we have something concrete that happened. The parents of those who have died, the identity of those who have died, this is the time to create some kind of platform that will begin to take these statistics and records and engage professionally. The time of protest in the street, in my opinion, is over. It was to call attention for this kind of engagement. But let me underscore what I said before, that end SARS is a metaphor. It is a call for the restructuring of the system in the country. It is a call for the overhauling of the institutions of the state. It is also a call to begin to review our leadership recruitment process. Because in any case, the youth are beginning to realize their numbers now. That is fair. Because in the past, the youth were becoming more like we are not a homogeneous group. We have Christian youth, we have Northern youth, we have Muslim youth. And some of these statistics that is out there, they are not exactly true. It is not also true that you have predominantly Muslims in the north. That's a narrative that we have tried over the years to counter. It's not true. Where you have less than 52% of Muslims, and once you mention north, everybody thinks is Muslim. No, that is not true. So we need to also be statistically correct to be able to engage the state, because they always come with a lot of confusion. So Nigeria is a complex state. Let's admit that. It's a very complex state to manage. And that's why we are not just calling for the continued decentralization of power. We are calling for true federalism. So that way, the governor of Lagos can manage the policy in the state. The local governments where some of these things are taking place can manage a certain level of police with some kind of authority to even dispatch and maintain law and order. A case where the states have governors and yet the command and control for the police system comes from Abuja is no longer feasible. That cannot work in the 21st century. And to also begin to acknowledge that it is not about the policeman on the street. It is about the method of policing. The method of policing in Africa generally is next to nothing. We are using analog policing in an era of digital crime. That cannot fit into the 21st century policing. I hear a lot of people go to the studio, go to air, and say the UN is advocating for, I think they say 400 or 500, one policeman to 500 people. There is no UN document that says that. That's a myth. It doesn't exist anywhere in the UN document. Every UN resolution has a number. Let somebody come out and tell me which number of that resolution that says that. So it deceives us to think that policing is about number. Policing is about the method of policing. And that's why when I go to countries like in the West, I don't see policemen on the street. When there is crime, I see them. When I come to Africa, I see police everywhere. When there is crime, I don't see them. So the method of policing is what needs to change. The tools with which the police do their job need to change. And that way, police is ahead of crime. Once police is not one step ahead of crime, there is no magic any police anywhere can do. So the security system in our country, in most of the African countries, need to focus more on human security. The more citizens' welfare you address, the less need for hardcore security.
Okay, you say this didn't start, the agitations and the issues they are raising did not start under this current president. And now, looking at the concerns the youth are raising, I sense a lot of mistrust between the authorities and the youth. So how then can this be resolved? Who is to resolve this when either party does not trust the other person?
You see, the truth of the matter is that if you do your mapping very well now, you will understand that there are people that the government trusts and that the youth trust. And I can begin to give you names, So if you do, that's what analysis does. And that's why, as experts in peace and security, we do not just dabble into conflict resolution without doing our conflict analysis. Part of what you do in conflict analysis is you do a stakeholders mapping. When you deal with stakeholders mapping, it will identify for you one individual, two individuals, three or group of persons, or even institutions that the youth will respect, that the state will respect. And then you take it off from there. The state cannot sit on this case. They cannot be the arbiter. The youth also, unfortunately, may not be the arbiter on this case. But there are certain individuals, there are certain institutions within the country that can be relied upon to deal with this issue. Of course, I have heard a lot of people talk about ECOWAS and the leadership of ECOWAS. Yes, to the extent that we have moved away from the principle of non-interference to the principle of non-indifference. The solidarity, the support is very key.
Okay.
But in terms of the resolution of this issue, I think that there are credible people within the Nigerian state that can be relied upon.
All right. Thank you very much. Chukemeka is the Executive Director of the West African Network for Peacebuilding here in Ghana. Honorable Inusah, in your submission, you spoke about how the concerns of these Nigerian youth mirror that of happenings in other parts of the continent as well. How do we satisfy the youth? Because increasingly, the leaders are failing the youth of the continent.
Well, it is not a magical phenomenon. It's all leadership. Leadership is everything. What happens for lack of leadership is what we're seeing in Nigeria. I actually blame the youth in Nigeria.
You blame the youth?
I blame the youth in Nigeria for what is happening. Why will Nigerian youth be interested in recycling old people to occupy office? Why? Look at Nigerian leaders. They are recycled leaders. Why? Is it that they are practicing the government that Sparta in the old Greek state practiced? Gerontocracy? Or what? What is the evidence that knowledge resides in the minds of an old person? What is that knowledge? I mean, you don't have foolish young people who grow old. You don't have them. So that they are to blame. Just like all youth in African countries. I mean, look at the Americas. Look at the United Kingdom. Look at nations that have developed. They have developed because the youth have taken their destiny into their own hands. And nations that have recorded success because the youth or their leader. Nkrumah, how many years was he when he was president of this country? 34. So look at what he achieved. Nigerians need not go to the United Nations. They need not go to. The solution to Nigeria's problem is in Nigeria. It's not in the United Nations. It's not in USA. It's in Nigeria. To demand accountability of their leadership. You cannot even understand why the people of a country collectively put the destiny of that country into a single man's hands. And that man thinks that he has more power than all the people. Usually, I mean, it doesn't make sense. And I tell you, I mean, African leaders will watch it. It took a person hawking vegetables on the streets of Tunisia to self-immolate. That led to the Arab Spring. One person who just felt that life was not worth living in Tunisia. Tunisia before then had a stable system of government. Stable. It didn't happen in Libya. It didn't happen in Egypt. It didn't happen in Morocco. It happened in Tunisia. Not Algeria, Tunisia. One person, vegetable seller, burnt himself to death because he didn't think that life was worth living. And he sparked the Arab Spring. Let's watch it. Look, my dear sister, Abena, tell me, in this our country, even in this country, I have seen people who have completed university and stayed at home for 5 years.
Yeah.
I've seen somebody who has a master's degree, who every day is disturbing me on my phone. He can't find work. And you know what he did? Mathematics. I mean, I thought that when we were in school, those who did mathematics were sharks.
Yes.
He cannot find job. And then, look, Buhari should not deceive himself into thinking that social intervention. The people are not interested in social intervention. Ghanaian youth are not interested in social intervention. They are interested in building their destinies, their future. That's what they're interested in. Just like farmers are not interested in subsidy. They are interested in the market that if you produce, we must be able to sell.
Yeah.
Just like businessmen are not interested in what do we call it? The thing that they grant to...
The tax rebates?
Not tax relief, what, they call it some name like that.
Relief package, the relief fund.
Stimulus.
Stimulus package.
They're not interested in stimulus. Make conditions. Open markets for them. they will produce, sell, make profit, and own that profit, and pay their taxes. That's what they're looking for. So you shouldn't deceive yourself into thinking that because I have said that I'm going to make 20, how many billion naira available? No. No. In fact, again, for development of countries, stimulus packages are only complementary. They don't become the lead policy.
Okay.
They complement government efforts at opening up the economy through the creation of long, sustainable jobs, so that those who can fit into are then supported by stimulus or by interventions. But if you make intervention your lead policy, you fail. Okay. Because you can't provide intervention for all the people. So I just think that this is a unique time in Nigeria. In fact, the youth of Nigeria for the first time are coming together for a common purpose. I beg the people of Nigeria, they shouldn't tribalize it. They shouldn't regionalize it. They should define their common purpose and object and pursue that. Politicians are very cunning, whether they are in Nigeria or they are in Ghana. Immediately you tribalize it. And tribal politics is the most veritable instrument of mobilization. The government that we have put in place will have support.
Okay.
Because the government will be coming from a tribe, from a region.
All right, Richard, your final one on this, and then we'll move to...
I'm sitting here, I cannot pretend to be more Nigerian than the good people of Nigeria, and I will not be able to understand their pain more than how they feel, because they've gone through the situation. Yeah. I mean, they know how it is, particularly when he gave testimony of life,
his experience.
So it gives you an indication that it's not something that you want to toy with. But there's another thing that I want all African youth and also people to understand. I mean, a couple of years ago, you could tag my senior as a young man. He's graduated, long past. So it's the same sort of people who were youth years ago. But what it is that when people become adult, they do forget that indeed. So in the moment of plenty, people do forget that indeed there was a moment that they were in that situation. Those are the things that we need to start reflecting. And I think that everybody needs to look at that carefully. There are other things that I want people to understand. The youth anywhere in the world. When you involve yourself in a protest, which is constitutional and is backed by law, you can do that. And when you look at the Nigerian constitution, that's in section 40, thereabout, it talks about the right to do all these things. And I think the other enactment that will equally talk to them when you go to Nigeria. Ghana situation is entirely different. But the issue is that why do you embark on protests and destroy properties of people who are equally in the same situation with you and protesting to private properties? Why do you do that? Why do you embark on protests and walk to a correctional facility, free prisoners, convicts, and unleash them criminals, unleash them onto the street? 2 correctional facilities. Why do you do that? Why do you embark on protests and go to an international airport, Murtala Airport? I saw on the TV. And cause a major stampede where for close to 6-7 hours flights are not coming in and they are not going out, frustrating people's businesses. Why do you do that? Why do you embark on protests and sexually harass people and rape people? Why would you do that?
No, we still do not know if those were the protesters and some of these things are being contested.
No matter where they'll come from, you are a Nigerian, you are fighting for the Nigerian factor and then the growth of Nigeria.
Okay.
So you are not supposed to inflict that on any person.
All right.
Regardless of where you belong, you can even be a police officer, a military officer. Dare not do that. You shouldn't do all these things.
Okay. Let me take the final comment from Barry and then
quickly, what I want to suggest to the government, because at the end of the day, we should be asking ourselves, what is the way forward, right? What is the way forward? So number one, like we've said, we are asking for more jobs to be created for our people.
Okay.
All right? Nigerian young people need more factories, more industries. These are long-term plans. All this may not be achieved in this government, but we need to see that the government is willing to ensure that every young person that comes out of school should be able to have an opportunity, to get what to do. All those who were killed in the process, the riot, the police were killed by the police, people were killed by SARS. Lagos State government has set up a commission, a panel. Also, other states are doing so. We want justice for all those that have been harassed. For
do
all
we have
those
a number to it yet?
For now, the states are setting up the panel, so people who have
we still do not know the number of people
so
who were killed.
People are urged to come out and make their complaints known. So when these are documented, we want justice. Every police officer who has been involved in any of this molestation or harassment or injustice or torture must be fully prosecuted, and the person must face the law. Right? All right. And again, we are asking the government, the security heads as it is, we feel are no longer capable. We need fresh ideas that will lead the reforms we're talking about to ensure that our people are protected.
All right. Thank you very much. That's Barry Indo. He's coordinator, Nigerian Youth in Ghana organization. We're also joined via Zoom by Henry Shield, head of Mission Leadership and Accountability Initiative, and Dr. Chukemeka is the executive director of ONEP, also joined us. We're taking a break. When we return, we'll talk about the presidential list for 2020 elections and the balloting and all that interpretation that have been given to it. Don't go away.
We like my baby,
Sunana Abdul Razak. Last week I received a message from Bet Planet. Come on, now win golden ticket. Nadan je saya ma Mercedes Benz na. On ba ku yadda ba kuma gashi nan ga sunana kai. Kun ga na gora kaman gaskiya ne. Mun na so ce na gode Bet Planet. Na gode ma kowa.
If you win, no one win like Bet Planet. My baby, if you win, no one win like Bet Planet.
What's poppin'? Brand new dramas, that's what. Ethan Hawke leads a group of freedom fighters in the daring battle to end slavery in Mnet's brand new historical miniseries.
We're gonna start a revolution.
And the rebellious daughter must step up and take the reins of her late father's criminal enterprise in Africa Magic's brand new local series.
What do I do?
What else is poppin'? Brand new pop-up channels, that's what's poppin'. We're serving up family dramas and intrigue galore in The Beloved Man on the new telenovelas channel.
Citizens, we cannot allow this situation to go on.
We're packing a punch with the kung fu adventures of the Chinese Odyssey on the brand new Kicks channel. And we're going crazy over arts and crafts with Cooksy on the new Zumu channel. So pop on over to DSTV for the best of brand new this month.
You're welcome back to the Big Issue on City FM and City TV. My name is BAbena Nyamekye Ampadu. My guests are the Honorable Inusah Fuseni, Member of Parliament for Tamale Central. Franklin Cudjoe is President of IMANI Africa. He's on Zoom with us. Also, Richard Asante Yeboah, Government Spokesperson on Infrastructure. We are now talking about the politics in Ghana, counting down to election 2020. Now, within the week, the Electoral Commission disqualified 5 of the 17 persons who submitted nominations to contest the December 2020 presidential poll. Returning officer for the 2020 presidential election is Jean Mensah, and he announced that the Electoral Commission's Let the People Know forum that the 5 people were disqualified for various irregularities. Here's a report my colleague Sixtus Don Ulo put together.
Of the disqualified nominees, 2 were seeking to run as independent candidates, while 3 sought to contest on the tickets of some political parties. The 2 independent presidential nominees are Kofi Koranting and Marek Kofi Gan. Mr. Gan is said to have submitted falsified signatures of persons who purportedly endorsed his nomination forms. 19 of the persons who purportedly endorsed Kofi Koranting's nominations were also found to be executives of the Convention People's Party, CPP. The 2 have not just been disqualified from the presidential contest, but also face prosecution.
Mr. Kofi Gani was the 12th person to file his nominations with the Commission. there were no IT issues. However, the technical team found that a number of the signatures of many supporters followed the same pattern. And this was the signatures were referred to the CID division of the Ghana Police Service. And the police has confirmed that indeed a good number of the signatures were fake. The 8th candidate to present his nomination forms to the commission was Mr. Kofi Kranting. The technical team noticed that 19 persons who had allegedly supported the CPP candidate had also supported Mr. Kofi Kranting. A further check revealed that these persons had not endorsed the candidate. Indeed, the CPP wrote to the commission about the issue, indicating that these persons were executives of their party. The technical team found that the signatures of these 19 persons were fake, and the matter was referred to the CID department of the Ghana Police Service. The CID did confirm that these signatures were fake. The candidate has therefore been disqualified, and the commission would forward this issue to the police for further action.
The 3 political party-sponsored nominees who have been disqualified are Akwesi Adai Odike of the United Progressive Party, UPP, Kwesi Busumbru of the People's Action Party, PAP, and Nana Ejinim Boateng of the United Front Party, UFP. These 3 also face prosecution for forgery. Mr. Busumbru was found to have no registered voter endorsing him from the Greater Accra region, while Mr. Odike and Mr. Ejinim Boateng were found to have forged signatures.
Mr. Kwesi Busumbru of the PAP was the 14th person to file his nomination forms with the commission. There were no IT issues. However, the candidate failed to provide supporters for some districts in the Greater Accra region and had incomplete data for a number of his supporters. Indeed, some of the supporters were not registered voters in the area of authority of the district assembly to which they endorsed his candidature, and there are a good number of them. The technical team also noted that the same persons, although they had endorsed for him on the 4 separate forms, had different signatures. And this was in the case of Ashanti and Northeast regions. This was referred to the CID division of the Ghana Police Service, and they noted that the signatures were fake. And he has been disqualified from participating and contesting in the 2020 presidential election.
The Electoral Commission chairperson, Jean Mensah, has, however, advised critics of her administration to cease their onslaught against the commission. Describing them as naysayers, Madam Mensah assured all stakeholders that the process will be free, fair and transparent.
We entreat the naysayers to cease their onslaught of trying to discredit a thorough and credible process, and try their onslaught of trying to discredit a commission that has been open and transparent and accountable to the people that it serves, that is the good people of this country. If for nothing at all, the current commission has opened up all its processes to the public and removed the cloaks of secrecy that shrouded our activities and operations in the past.
All right, and so some of the disqualified aspirants, Marek Kofi Gan and Akwesi Adai Odike, spoke about their disqualification.
So we have with us Marek Gan, one of the disqualified aspirants, and we're going to find out from him what his interactions with the Electoral Commission has been. So tell us, what is the latest development?
The latest development is frustration. For us, every minute now counts, and the EC has not given us anything on which to proceed further.
The EC says a number of the signatures on your nomination forms were forged. What's your response to that?
I don't have a response because that is not true as far as we are concerned, which is exactly why we are here, to find out, show us which signatures you claim are forged, from which district, from who. So if even that we are not being given an opportunity to engage and we are being, moved around, then, that's a further concern for us.
Were your forms signed by the individuals who endorsed them?
Look, take Accra, for example. I was in my own car going around house to house, and people can attest to that. The same process was executed everywhere else in this country. So, that's why we want to get to the bottom of this.
Well, the EC says the issue with regards to your nomination has become a legal one involving the CID. So obviously you wouldn't have been called for a redress.
But here we are. We haven't had any conversations with the CID. Nobody has called us from any quarters. I mean, we can't just hear things and then that's the end of it.
As we speak now, the CID has not contacted you?
I haven't had any conversation. All I've been getting all day has been media.
All right, so that was just Mary Kofi Gande speaking to City News about his disqualification. I'm beginning with you, Honorable Inusah Fuseni, on this one. You are a legal practitioner. These people have been disqualified. They tell us they were not contacted to answer to the allegations of forged signatures and non-existent people endorsing in their forms.
Well, Abena, if the assertion of Kofi Gande is true, then I fail to see why Jean Mensa thinks that they have been fair, open, and transparent. The rules of natural justice require that you don't punish a person without hearing from him. Elections are full-cycle activities in this country. In 44 days' time, we will be going for elections. To be able to prepare for the elections, you have to take certain preparatory steps, and that includes advertising for persons interested in contesting positions in the country to file their nominations. There must be a date, a cut-off date, because you have to go to the press or printing house to print the ballots. Now you have to make sure that those ballots are indeed certified and accounted for. So there are processes. And so if you are going to take a major decision, like disqualifying a candidate, you need, and especially on an allegation as serious as forging signatures, you need to engage the candidate. You don't just announce a disqualification. And to be honest with you, I must credit Citifm. I've been thinking and racking my mind to understand the basis for the qualification until I heard it on. Because if you say you are transparent, you must state which signatures did you discover to be fake. How did you discover that they were fake? Did you bring this to the attention of the candidate? What was the responses of the candidate? An electoral commission could do all this before the date of the ballot. Nothing prevented the electoral commission from doing that.
They said they contacted the CID,
yes,
and the CID indeed confirmed that they were fake.
The CID is not a stakeholder in this instance. Okay? The CID's interest is coterminous with the interest of the people of Ghana in ensuring that crime is not perpetuated or continued. So the persons who are stakeholders are the persons that are elected to put forward themselves to contest the elections. If you have any reason as an impartial arbiter to disqualify anybody, let the person know. Let those involved know. Listen to them. Let the CID invite them to account for those signatures. Yes, I have been an appeals officer, elections officer, or appeals panel member of the NDC in terms of the recently held primaries.
Okay.
Matters raised as this are not surprising. And that's where I will come to. Persons seeking to contest elections, public elections, must take the exercise seriously. You are seeking to occupy a party position at the head office of the party or at any branch of the party, please take the process seriously. It is not a joke. It's not a joke. You've seen it even at branch level. People just write names and say, these people have supported me and I'm coming to contest it, when those people do not exist. When those people have not indicated. You see people printing for others. Take the process seriously. The beginning of a solid democratic process begins with being transparent and credible and honest with the process. Some people, and I'm sorry to say, some potential aspirants sat in Accra and gave forms out to people to just go into the... You can't vouch for the process if you do that. That is why the Electoral Commission and the laws of Ghana require that you maintain offices all across, in all the districts. You have founding members. It is not for nothing that they demand that. So, so that if you are going to seek signatures in Accra, you already have a platform, an established office, where you can charge the executive in that office to look for, registered members of the party who are also voters. Because when you fail, there's a requirement that you must get sponsors from all the regions of this country. It's a requirement. If you fail, refuse, or neglect to get sponsors from a particular region or one region of Ghana, you will be disqualified.
So these 5 people, you don't think they took the exercise seriously? Well, there are some of them who, the people who signed for them, they are NDC persons, CPP. At a point, the CPP even had to write to the EC.
Yes, in the case of the
Kofi Kranting, yes. That these are not his supporters, but CPP supporters.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. So where did Kofi Kranting go for the signatures? How did he get those people? Was it that those people were induced to sign the forms? Well, how did it happen?
Even the same sort of people.
How did it happen? You understand? You know, this things, that's why I said you should take the exercise seriously. That's why, you see, my dear sister, I always try to refer to the United States because the federal system, in some states require that you must get as many as 250 signatures of registered voters and people who are resident in the place. So it depends on the state. Another state will say that if you get 100 signatures, it's okay. You must comply. Because you want to represent the people. It is not a fun game. It is a leadership contest to rule this country. It's a leadership contest in which you are presenting yourself to the people of this country to trust you to put our enormous resources in your house to manage for 4 years. And then you don't take the exercise seriously. I'm not happy for the United Front party man because I have seen that he's a very serious person.
Nigerian Boateng.
Yes.
He thinks your party masterminded his disqualification. Yeah. He said you are afraid of all the votes he's going to sweep in the Ashanti region. That's your struggle.
If the MPP has such powers, then it should be the NDC that will prevent from disputing the election. If the MPP has such powers, and I'm telling you, if the NDC equally has that powers, they will do the same and prevent MPP.
We don't have the power. You are in power until you appointed your
such power never exists anywhere in the world. I mean, was able to prevent you the heaviest defeat ever in your history.
No, but that's true. That's true. You see, for the NDC to file its nomination forms, and with the present hostility towards the NDC.
Hostility?
On your network here, Bossman said that NDC was the greatest threat to Ghana's democracy. On your network.
It doesn't mean the NDC, the EC is being forced out.
What did he say?
I mean, I'm not going to be a spokesperson for EC or anything. But I mean, for accuracy.
It doesn't mean the EC is being forced out.
If you have the type of the beard, this type of your beard, you don't discount things that are true.
See the mischief when it's like, I'm waiting for my time to deal with the issue, so I wait for.
You make your point, finish your point.
So NDC, I'm telling you, okay, the perceived hostility, let me put it that way.
Yeah, that's fine.
The perceived hostility. We knew And we have been very careful. We have been very, very careful. I mean, the least mistake, we were out. We knew.
You feared that you could be disqualified?
There was even the joke that your mama, when the coronavirus came, your mama was advised not to travel out of the country before the borders were closed. Oh, God. I'm telling you, this is, we don't take for...
That's what, the airport will not be reopened so that he can...
You
actually believe that?
Yes.
Oh, come on.
The NDC had these fears?
You had these fears.
Really?
Who is the greatest threat to NPP?
You tell me.
If you remove the threat, Nana Akufo-Addo has a walkover. Yes. And that threat has been manifested even by divine providence.
And so Mahama didn't travel for fear of the airport not being...
We told him not to go anywhere.
Interesting.
We told him not to go anywhere.
You're surprised.
I never crossed your mind, eh?
No.
Yes.
I have no reason to have such a thought.
Borders closed, coronavirus.
The man went to Nigeria recently.
They opened the borders.
The borders were not closed.
No, they opened the borders. They opened the borders. But during the time that the borders were closed, in fact, when they just announced coronavirus, we told him that was his last trip outside this country. Because nobody knew what, and the international community, some had already started closing their borders. Ghana had not yet taken that decision. Don't travel out. If you travel out, you will be the reason why the borders will never be open.
Oh, Jesus.
Because, I mean, in warfare, and elections like warfare, remove the greatest threat and you have won the war.
Really? Mahama is not our greatest threat.
Divine providence. Even 12 people contest
He has never been.
12 people have elected to contest the elections. What did God say? There are only 2 people who are important in the elections. So he gives them number 1 and number 2.
And that's how the results go.
Richard, okay, let me hear you on the disqualification. We'll come to this ballot thing.
I listen to my senior, and I mean, it is good for our democracy. I mean, the way we do our politics, that is how it ought to be. That we come to understand that we are one and the same people. We belong to various political parties. But then the Ghana agenda ought to be the ultimate thing that we ought to push. And I sit here understanding what has transpired at the EC. I feel like the EC has done a yeoman's job. They've been splendid over the period. I mean, there is a human institutions. There will be issues that people will raise. But I think that in terms of conducting the affairs, they've been extremely fair. For the NDC, that is how it's going to be. In a campaign, we have a proverb that Abuabi will pray. So because they are on the way to their grave, all these kind of noises will be made. I mean, they'll put out positive and negative adverts and peddle falsehood even about the EC and everybody else. But the point is that...
Honorable, let him talk.
But the point is that the NDC knows for a fact that there's no way in heaven and even in hell for the NDC to win the next election.
Okay.
They know it for a second.
I see where you are going.
A minute. Because with any issue that comes up, they throw in things that do not even concern anybody. These individuals who have been disqualified, ask yourself, there are 12 people who qualified. How come only 5 of them were put aside? The EC adduced reasons why these individuals were disqualified. All of them were called. Some of them have admitted to the point that they were called. But some, because they want to continue to stay themselves and the relevance in the media, are giving out false information. That
you don't think that indeed they were not called?
The EC said that they've spoken to them. I heard one of the...
Because Kofi Kranting says he was not called.
Commissioners on another platform talking about that they spoke to all of them and letting them know why.
Okay.
Some of them, even those who qualified, some of them were called because there were certain mistakes that were made on them. And they've invited them to ratify those challenges. So they were all called. But the point is that let's not toy with our presidency. Like my senior said, you cannot toy with what we are working on. I mean, people play a lot. I mean, there are a lot of jokes, and people think that the presidency is where they can take some of those jokes. No, you cannot do that. You're looking at electing an individual to man the affairs of the country for 4 years. somebody who's going to make sure that we have water running in our taps, somebody making sure electricity, the economy is in safe hands, making sure that people are getting jobs, providing quality education for the people, including free education, which has been done by the citizens and Adam Kwaku, making sure that we have a solid country that we can all be proud of. That is what we are looking at. So if you think you are not ready to do that, you should not get closer to that. There's another thing that people have not realized. See, there's been a consultant or a group that formed a team, and the people, some of these presidential aspirants rushed to sort of help them fill their forms. Okay. That is why every time you see names appear, because you see, it's extremely unlikely for some of the things that happens to happen. That you go to, say, Honorable's constituency or come to Greater Accra, you are supposed to pick, say, 25 people. And it happens that 3 political parties are able to pick the same set of human beings. How? How possible? So they go to these consultants, they take their money, and they claim that they do one job professionally, and the remaining they just take their money and do all kinds of things for them. If you are on the ground, you would go to your supporters to feel the LPP go to their supporters, and these will call their support. They will not even call those who are wavering, those they are not so. They will call executives of their parties to fill their forms. They will invite them to Accra. They will not even carry the forms across to the country.
No, we go to them. Do you understand? We go to the executives.
So they will make sure they use the set of people that they think will help them do their job.
Do you know these consultants?
They know themselves.
You seem to know about their exploits, so tell us about them.
And I'm telling you that it should not be strange for you, because
is it a company?
How come,
do you know their name?
How come the CPP wrote to the EC, not knowing what is going to appear on another party's list of people who endorsed? They did not know, but they wrote to the EC telling the EC that there's this set of people who are members, they are not supporters of this party, but we are told that their names have been presented. How did they know? How did they know? Because possibly they pick up the intelligence that the same set of people has been used for this. So these are things that happens, and I think that we ought to be serious. And I think when people are disqualified, let's not entertain them and let it look like the EC is up to some mischief. I'm not sure the EC will gain anything if somebody is kicked out of the election. Akuyadonko and others suffered same fate. When Madame Charlotte Osei was there, I'm not sure the NDC gave some of the commentary that Honorable gave in his initial comment.
Which one?
That he thinking that the EC had done something untoward and that he did not invite them. Madam, all the processes that...
He said if indeed they were not contacted.
But the point is that the EC said that they contacted them.
Okay.
Yeah. So that point honor to come should have been mute. Because he knows that the EC has already told us that the people were contacted.
You said you're not a spokesperson of the EC.
Oh, but you are... So, I mean, what I want us to understand is that for us, the New Patriotic Party, we're excited with the process. We are happy with her, we are positioning Osoro. And now, of course, Osoro, that's where we are.
No worry. I'll come back to you for all that you want to talk about on the balloting and the results
between the two parties is what is happening on the ballot.
Okay, you're taking Franklin's time now. Franklin. Hello, Franklin, are you there? All right, we are talking about the disqualification of these 5 aspirants. Well, some say they were not called and given the opportunity to explain themselves for the alleged forgery the EC is claiming they perpetrated in filling their forms. But there are people who also think that it was just a ploy to cut down the numbers. All right, we seem to be having some technical challenge with Franklin's connection. We'll rectify it and get back to him. But Honorable Fuseni, 2016, there were issues of people allegedly putting up fake signatures in their presidential nomination forms. We didn't hear of any prosecution in that regard, and we are seeing that happen again.
The Supreme Court actually said that those anomalies, if they found that a group of people had signed, who had already signed for another person, there were anomalies that could be rectified.
Okay.
And so the Electoral Commission should give the political parties who were disqualified an opportunity to remedy the anomaly. If the anomaly could not be rectified, then those people ought to be disqualified. That was how the NDP and others came back, because they were given an opportunity to rectify. And in a country where the population of registered voters is now 17 million, and you just require at least 10 people from each region or district to be on the to support your candidature. I mean, it begs the question how a candidate cannot get those 10 people. And yes, like he said, some people have turned themselves into endorsement contractors that will demand money from you to endorse for you. And it's not akin or limited to Ghana. I mean, I've read reports about even in Western civilized democracies, people take money to endorse. Now, so if that thing comes, you will say, look, your endorsement is wrong. Some people do not know that the voter ID card number is actually tied to the region that you come from. And so when you, even the constituency, so when you endorse, when in 2012...
Honorable, hold on to that. Franklin's connection is back. Hello, Franklin. All right, looks like it's not working well. Let me bring in some of the messages you've been sending us. Dominic from Airport Up. Now, with the issue of the disqualified candidates, I think this is a good chance for them to quietly go for their monies and stop giving easy pressure. At least it's quite obvious that some of them are not going to see top. Why then do they want to waste their resources? Okay. Abdul Razak from Boko says this is not the first time candidates are being disqualified from contesting the election. If any of the disqualified candidates feel there's anything wrong, then the only place for them to seek redress is the law courts. Let's test our democracy. Well, Nana Boateng, I think he has initiated such processes at the courts. Franklin, you're back. Hello. Okay, we'll try and rectify that. This is the big issue on City TV and City FM. We are talking about the disqualification of 5 presidential aspirants within the week, and also the ballot. Honorable, so you were making a point.
Yes, I'm just saying that, look, in 2012, I had a good friend. He endorsed my form. I went to the Electoral Commission, and when they were taking the forms, they told me that particular person did not register in my constituency. It was an embarrassment to him, because he had even accompanied me to the Electoral Commission to file. And they told him in my presence that his ID card was from Saknerebo. He had registered in Saknerebo.
Did you know he wasn't
registered? I didn't know, but he was my good friend.
And he never told you the truth.
He thought it's a
NDC person too.
Yes, not NDC person. He was my friend, not even NDC person. He was my friend.
NDC boy.
And then he didn't tell me that he had registered in Saknerebo. But at that point, they said, no, you were just in the process of filing. Can you get somebody who is registered in your constituency to come so that we can change the name? Because that person is not entitled to support you. That's why I'm saying that when they realize some irregularities, anomalies in the forms, did they give them an opportunity to rectify them? Or does it mean that if there's an anomaly, it cannot be rectified?
I think the situation where you forge signatures,
no,
they will not call you.
It's not forged. No one forges signatures.
Is that the CID confirmed?
No, the CID confirmed that those signatures were forged, but that doesn't mean that the candidate, the aspirants forged those signatures.
I agree with you.
So that's why you should give that person an opportunity, because there's no vicarious liability for crime. Not so. There's no vicarious. So he sent some people to endorse. Those people brought them the forms, brought him the forms, and then he files the forms.
Ultimate responsibility.
Ultimate responsibility. Yes, I agree. That is why he's been disqualified, because the Electoral Commission says he bears ultimate responsibility for that. But can he be said to have forged those signatures? So that's why there is in election matters, because it's a contest for public office. You need to be very careful. That was why when even Charlotte Osei disqualified those people, I thought that no, it was too hard a hammer. Give them, let them, those who can, for instance, if a requirement is that you must pay 100,000 Ghana cedis to be able to be on the ballot. If you fail, refuse, or neglect to pay 100,000 Ghana cedis, you have excluded yourself from the process. Okay? That one is a matter that you can remedy. But those that can be remedied, give them opportunity to remedy and be on the ballot.
Okay.
You can, and you see why my brother Ajin Mbwati is blaming the MPP is that he's led all the fight against them in the Ashanti region. So they have an interest in disqualifying him. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I want to make another attempt and speak to Franklin now. Hello, Franklin.
Hi, Abena. Is this better?
Yes, it's quite better. Let's hear you on the disqualification and the matters arising.
Well, it was quite sobering to think that in the case of about 2 or 3 candidates who had invested a lot of time and effort into this whole enterprise, it was quite sobering to hear that their destination had ended even before the race began. And I'm talking about the rather meticulous Kofi Gan, the chartered accountant, and you know what accountants really are about.
Yeah.
And then you're talking about Kofi Quarantine, who are, these two are good friends of mine. So I saw the passion with which they wanted to represent the thought and the ideas and ideals of the youth, really, which has largely been toyed with by the 2 gentlemen sitting in the studio.
Yeah.
But it was sad that it ended that way. Look, I think Honorable Inusah's point that the EC, even though clothed this time around on just on parallel arbitrariness, really, should have exercised a bit of caution, because its own rules suggest that where you find these anomalies, you call people to sort of rectify. I can understand they are making claims about forgery and fraud. You know, it's interesting listening to a sermon from hell from the EC about forgery and fraud. Because this DC, contrary to its claims that it has organized a transparent process, was the one that rigged the tender when they were trying to buy new machines, and it's all out there. I do not want to recount the processes again. But this EC can never claim to have never caused any doubt at all as to the processes leading up to this stage. You recall when they were caught lying about 21,000 names that were incorrectly handled. They said it wasn't true. The following day they admitted and said it was 7,000.
But frankly, these are processes.
Let me not go on to link the little.
Yeah, because these are quite different.
See, this is what we do in this part of our work. The fact of the matter is that it is different. I'm only suggesting to you, comparable to the infractions that these gentlemen have been said to have caused, the EC is in inglorious company and alone. But let's all say that, look, the processes were supposed to have helped also rectify these issues. But you see, the other thing I need to say is that why do we box ourselves into these rather old, dodgy ways of trying to register people or get people to endorse people? A very forward-looking entity would have said, look, all parties should bring their registry, their book, their albums, they call them, so that you can start preventing these things from happening in the first place. There's no need necessarily to say that it must be a laborious task for you to go to every nook and cranny of this country to ensure that 2 persons bona fide residing in the 2 districts must willy-nilly be met before they register or they endorse you, right? I thought that if you had a register with all these names correctly checked, at the single click of a button, it should be clear and it should be easy for you to know who actually belong to each party and whether they are executives or not. It's a much better organized way, civilized way of determining people who will be registering doubly, rather than this laborious process of I said this, you said this. Look at this whole cantata around some of the CPP executives who may have endorsed for one of the 2 independent candidates, now suggesting that they didn't do it. It's someone's word against another man's word. I'm only telling you that these gentlemen, that I do not believe that they knowingly go around looking for forged or fraudulent people to endorse them. So the best way to go about it is to use an electronic process. It's the only reason why the national identification process is the only legitimate one that we should all support, which we have supported largely. The moment that is done, all of these unnecessary distraction about disqualification of people on the assumption that they procured fraudulent persons would have been stopped. All I'm submitting to you that let's think outside of the box. If I were running the EC, and God knows I'll never do such work, I think the least commonsensical thing to do is to say, look, let's look at the albums, and pre-endorsement processes would have to be done, because this has been recurring. So a forward-looking EC would have said, look, we want to be sure that these things do not happen to candidates. Because look, some people have contracted themselves because of either greed or poverty to be endorsing for all kinds of persons. So the only way you cure that is to use a biometric. It's strange that the EC has a biometric system but cannot rely on it to help candidates to determine those who are fraudulent and whatnot. All I'm submitting is that this could have been avoided without all the needless drama.
Okay.
So it doesn't necessarily mean that they've done any yeoman's job. This is the list of the jobs that were done anyway. And I said it could have been done without necessarily getting to this stage where people's characters would have been assassinated in this manner through no fault of theirs.
Frankly, let's talk about the balloting now. I saw an article you shared from 2016. With all that has gone on in the country when it comes to balloting and the campaign messages, among others, do you think your position on the ballot paper matter?
Well, I mean, the legend and indeed the academic literature is repletive, all manner of references to the fact that the position you occupy actually does help. And especially in the very maybe democratically illiterate countries, that is supposed to be the case. But of course, the article suggests that even in democratically literate countries as well, where you occupy helps, especially when the candidates are too many. I mean, imagine the MPP were occupying the 12th position or the 11th position or something. It would be a difficult sell. But the point really is that at the end of the day, on the day of votes, people also need to identify. I recall the last time I voted, because I didn't register this time around in protest. The last time I voted, look, it's funny, but the person I was going to vote for, I didn't end up voting for the person. I didn't know whether some juju had happened to me.
What happened to you?
You know, I went endorsing the candidate that I would never have endorsed. And it wasn't any of the two major ones, by the way. Not that I was going to vote for any of the two major ones, but I ended up endorsing somebody else. At that moment, temporarily, I probably lost all sense of touch and identification. So you can imagine if the ballot were just about 12 people and all of that. So look, the MPP and NDC should be thankful to their stars that they occupied 1 and 2, and that's the way it should be. But in truth, where you occupy actually does matter, and I wish them well in this exercise. For all the sins of the EC, by the way, I suspect that the elections will go, hopefully without any problems, biometrically though, because I still believe they still haven't figured the biometric issues properly. But let's hope and pray, like we do in Ghana, that nothing untoward should happen, and then we'll have a successful election.
All right. Honorable, I see you're ready to talk about number 2.
Well, I'm ready to talk about number 2, and I'm actually inspired by the proverb of, or the wise saying of Richard.
Repeat that.
Someone says, like you, I've looked at the tree. Now, I mean, and it's true. So you have a government that is. So you have
reference to.
You have
Mr.
a
Mahama
sitting government.
NDC.
Okay, that what here can only refer to the sitting government. Cannot refer to any other person.
No,
that is the living reality. That's the reality. Okay, what the prophet is saying is that when the reality is about to change, you cannot have it smooth. That's what the proverb is all about. And the reality here is that MPP is in power. And so they are doing everything to remain in power. And let me just take you on why this election is important. We became democratic in 1992. Rawlings, the first leader under the Constitution, he got 8 years. Then came Kufuor, he got 8 years. Then came Atamils, who got 4 years. When had put in his application to do another 4 years, nature did not allow him. He did 4 years. 3.5 years. John Dramani Mahama completed that tenure and then put in his own application to do his 8 years. His 8 years was truncated, by Nana Akufo-Addo, who came with promises. Our election of Nana Akufo-Addo was not based on any track record, was based on legitimate and reasonable expectation, was an experiment on what he was telling us. Now, you have a former president who has 4 years to go. You have a sitting president who has 4 years to complete. That makes the election a very important matter. So when we say that people should look at this election as the most important election in the history of this country, we're not joking. We're not joking. Now, Nana Akufo-Addo will feel hard done by if his tenure of office is truncated, and especially when it's going to be 80 years in 4 years' time. 80 years. The chances of him coming back to complete a term will be near zero.
Why?
Because 80 years. Who has ever voted an 81-year-old person into office?
You never know.
Zimbabwe had president.
So you see, and so he's fighting to continue. He's fighting to continue because if he doesn't continue, he will be the president, the only president in this country who has had only one term. And he will enter the record books as such. John Dramani Mahama feels hard done by the promises that were made by the MPP that dislocated, truncated the transformational agenda he had embarked upon. So he's working hard tooth and nail to come back to complete the transformational agenda. So it matters for me and you. It matters for the security. It matters for the Electoral Commission. It matters for the people of this country, that the elections be free, fair, credible, transparent, and the Electoral Commission accountable.
Okay.
It matters. This election matters. Those in the villages, this election matters. This is not the time that you can sit at home and say that we will win our constituency, no matter the turnout. In this election, turnout is as important as the results. So people have to come out to vote. Now, the good thing is that
you have 1 minute, Honorable.
Providence has spoken to us already that the election is for two candidates. A candidate who is already sitting there and a candidate who wants to come back. The number one and the number two. Fortunately, everything is pointing conclusively to a very determined, a committed, a former president who wants to come back, who is doing everything in his power to come back. And for us, that's the good thing. When we went to the Electoral Commission to pick the first round of votes, we picked number 8. MPP picked number 4. So they were first to choose. And they chose number 1.
We are not the first to choose.
No, they were the first in relation to the NDC.
Okay.
I'm talking about relational issues here.
MPP, NDC.
Okay. In relation to the NDC. Okay. Because 3 other parties had chosen first. Before MPP, who chose the fourth number, who chose 1.
Number 1.
After MPP chose 1, 3 other people, or 4 other people, 3 other people picked before the NDC. And NDC came and picked number 2. Meaning that NDC is following closely on the heels of the MPP.
That will be number 2 on the after the results have been announced.
Only means that God has spoken.
Is this prophetic?
It's prophetic. God has spoken. That no matter the number of people who will come before or who will come after, the contest,
will be number 2.
The contest will be between NDC and MPP, or if you want, MPP and NDC. That is what matters now. That is why all the NDC supporters must know that God has already spoken. He has spoken. The contest is between the 2 parties. So go out and do the needful. Because the contest has been chosen for us already. 2 people. Go out and do the needful. That's all.
Oh. If he's a prophet, I'm not sure people will come to his church. Because his prophecies are too long. And you can't see where he said it. But I mean, let's come to the crux of the issue. This election is about light and darkness. It's about opportunity for people to pursue their interest in education, where they have free education, and a moment where parents would have to sell their clothes, sell their important stuff to finance their children's education. It's about a period, the decision between employment, building industries, and the moment of trying to project oneself. These elections is about making sure that we have taps, water running through our taps, and also making sure that our roads are fixed, which is being done. This election is about 2 candidates who one has shown decisiveness, compassionate, and has made himself available to the people. And we've seen it, that there's never been a time in our history that the things that we are seeing.
It's also
now,
an election about the person who cares for the country, and the person who cares for the family.
The
kind of things that are happening in our country now, there's never been any time in our history that any of such things had happened. But for the first time in our history, we are seeing that. We are seeing that a government comes in, and for the first time in our history, even import duties are reduced between 50%, 70%, and whatnot. We've seen that over 15 taxes were either reduced or some entirely scrapped under this government. Under this government, for the first time in our history, people are enjoying free water. Electricity, we are having people enjoying free. About 1.2 million lifeline consumers are still enjoying free electricity. Now everybody in this country, even in the forgotten part of this country, is enjoying free water. Cocoa farmers and farmers are grateful to this government. That for the first time in the history of the industry, they've seen a whooping 28% increment. They've never seen that before. They are seeing that the Makola woman is now understanding and appreciating the good governance of Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo, because stimulus packages are being given, where loans are being provided to these people to do their businesses, and import duties have been reduced for them as well. The Kaya people who were struggling and breaking their backs, that the little and the meager amount that they were making, that they were being taxed and people were hurting them and all that, chasing them all over the place. All these things, this government has cancelled it. They see that. The people see that there's a vast difference between somebody who promises you that when it will even cost him his elections, he will never restore nursing and teacher training allowance. And now somebody comes in and restores nursing training allowance and teacher training allowance. That is the president we are talking about. We are talking about a leader when he was in power, makes it illegal for you to drive Okada. But when he's coming back and he's seeking to win your vote, so when he gives me opportunity, that law that I promulgated, when I come, I'll scrap it. And so because of that, follow me in your numbers. That is deceit. You are talking about a leader who flip-flops, extremely incompetent, telling you about 12 years ago and putting in his manifesto 2012 that 2012 he said when elected he would make sure that he pay assembly members. For the entire period that he was the president, he did not pay a single peso. But now he's reinvented the same dream that he had a couple of years ago and going for, so when he give me opportunity, I'll pay you allowances if you're an assembly member. That's complete deceit. We've seen a leader who has shown to the whole world. I mean, for the first time, I'm not sure that for the life of us, we the younger ones, we thought that what we saw, maybe what we were told during the commerce era, where cars were being assembled in this country, was going to happen. Now we are seeing that VW Passat is doing assembling here. Toyota is coming in. Sino Truck is doing the assembling. Other major companies. Today we are comparing Ghana and Nigeria. For the first time in our history, Ghana is leading Nigeria in terms of the attraction of foreign direct investment. Ghana, for the first time in our history. For the first time, we are seeing that Ghana is the leading exporter of gold in Africa. South Africa was leading Ghana all these years, but now the paradigm is changing. Even look at this fight against COVID. As we speak, which country in Africa has positioned itself to be the beacon in terms of structure-wise, in terms of the policies and mechanisms that have been put in place in that fight? Ghana is number 3 in the world and first in Africa. Which president can deliver that? Okay. So, my dear, there's the last thing that I'll tell you about the number 1 position. And I think that's where everybody's looking. Today, we're doing, make sure you are in your party colors and all that. Unfortunately, I was heading towards a party funeral, and I needed to come here because I wasn't originally scheduled for this. I would have been in that. So I expect our people to be there. But there's something that has happened in our history over the years, and I want us to pay close attention to. Every second term of a sitting president, when it goes into the balloting at the EC, the one that gets number 1 wins. Of course. Okay. And I'm giving you the history. 1996, President Rawlings was going for a second term. When we did the balloting at the EC, he was number 1. And he won. Okay. 2004, President Kufuor was going for a second term. And President Kufuor and the MPP was number 1. He won. 2020, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo is number 1 and is going for a second term. That's the history that we've seen in this country. You win. He's winning comprehensively. Because you see, the last election, you see, 2016 elections, just a second, 2016 elections, you realize that Mr. Mahama and the NDC had access to the state machinery. They had all the resources at their disposal. He was literally using helicopter for his campaign. When you complain about the bad roads, he was telling you you were sleeping. You were sleeping, that's why you could not see the good roads. Oh, you see, you said he lost it beyond his comprehensive. That's why he saw 1 million votes defeat.
No, not 1 million. It was not 1 million. About 1 million.
Okay, don't worry. If that miss
about 1 million. No, I want you to be honorable. I know you so well. You see, honorable yourself. No, not me. I know him to be truthful. No, I know he's truthful. I know he's truthful. So because he's truthful, you must not engage in propaganda. But you see, I'm just going to ask one question. I'm going to ask one question. All he's been sitting here, he's been doing marketing, trying to tout the achievements of Nana Akufo-Addo. So why is his president running away from debate?
Oh, don't worry. Let me answer that simple. Madam,
because if you are saying that you're doing all these things,
when Mr. Mahama come for debate, upon to come for debate, you know what he said? He was not interested. Mr. Shidi Ketia and the NDC said Mr. Mahama was not interested. So now because your approval rating has sunk so low, you want to Mr. Mahama said when he's driving across the countryside, sometimes people do not even wave him.
Which side?
Where? Across the country. Now, because of that, when they realize that now they are massing up people for you.
I don't trust those with BS. I don't trust those with BS. I don't trust those with BS.
Why does Mahama want to grant amnesty to people arrested for
it's a simple matter.
I don't understand. Arrested people.
Our motto is freedom and justice. It's important that we keep that at the back of our minds. Once upon a time, the small-scale mining was banned in this country. Now, so nobody could engage in small-scale mining. In 1989, we came to the decision that small-scale mining offers employment for the youth, and that people who are determined to engage in small-scale mining should be given the opportunity. We created the legal environment or avenue for people to do that. We established institutions to promote small-scale mining. People still engage in small-scale mining. Some people closely associated with his party went to China and brought Chinese.
They were only NPP people.
Some people. I didn't say all people. I said some people.
Some people.
Some people. That's what I'm speaking on authority because I was Minister of Lands. That's what I'm speaking on.
And you saw people, MPP people
bring Chinese.
Oh, look at that.
Which MPP people?
And that's what MPP went to China to beg for money for their campaign.
Look at that.
Those persons who brought them, led them.
Which people?
Oh, I won't. They know themselves.
Mention their names.
So please. So I tell you. Let me tell you.
I'm forcing to give the names.
Let me tell you something. Then we the 2012 NDC manifesto stated clearly that when we are given the mandate, we will rid the small-scale mining sector of illegalities. I was privileged to be put in charge of doing that.
Yeah.
I deported more than 5,000 Chinese from the mining sites. Now, in 2016, MPP wins elections. It was not in their manifesto to deal with small-scale mining. They didn't provide for it. The media coalition against illegal mining forced them.
Manifesto. I'm talking about
where's the manifesto? Where?
I'm saying bring your manifesto here.
Bring your manifesto.
We can check that. We can check that.
There's no manifesto. There's no small-scale mining in their manifesto.
Okay.
And then there's media coalition against small-scale mining forced Nana Akufo-Addo's hand to declare an interest in fighting illegal small-scale because the waters were going bad.
Which they did.
And even put his presidency on the line. Along the line, a Chinese citizen was arrested. A Chinese citizen was arrested and charged in court. Initial charges, Occupy Ghana said the charges were wrong and published. The government amended those charges. Look, what is required of nations who believe in the rule of law or profess to believe in the rule of law is to use law as an instrument of transformation and information. You had a glorious opportunity to demonstrate to the world and to Ghanaians that your fight against illegal small-scale mining was indeed a committed fight. What did Nana Akufo-Addo do? He instructed the Attorney General to go to court to file a nollie prosecution. He was not interested in prosecuting Aisha 1. Meanwhile, and deported Aisha 1 because Aisha 1 had a country to be deported to. Yes. But the Ghanaians who were arrested, where do you deport them to?
So that is their premise.
Where do you deport them to? You put them in jail.
I mean, deportation has become an issue now.
You deported Aisha 1 because Aisha 1,
South African, the so-called South African
Aisha 1 had
arrested.
Aisha 1 had a country to be deported to. My brother in Obuasi or Takwa or Offenso, no small-scale mining, or those areas where they are doing Chibi. Where did you deport them to? You put them in jail. The worst is that when they seized their excavators, they distributed them among themselves. When you see state,
That's not true. That's not true.
That is not true.
That's not true.
I'm not stating new facts. I'm just telling you what people in your party have said. I'm not stating new facts. So if Kennedy Japan said that and you didn't tell him that was true, because I'm Inusah saying it.
I'm not having Kennedy Japan say that.
You see, so what I'm saying is that you distributed them. In fact, the law, I piloted the law in Parliament. And I'm telling you that there is no provision in the law that says that you burn equipment. There's no. Wait, Richard, wait. When they're shaving you don't rub your head. No, you'll be cut. Look, in Tamale, when the equipment were seized, what did they do? They burnt them. They burnt the tracks. Those they didn't burn, they shared them. Today, Minister of Lands and Natural
did that. Is it the military Operation Vanguard team? Some of them.
So Operation Vanguard team
punished by the military.
Operation Vanguard team were operating independent of the
when you say
ministerial committee.
You are making reference to like government. A team have been put together. It's like a Nigerian situation where people who are part of a system who asked to go and do lawful duties go out there and some of them try to overstep and do certain things, and you are talking and you are making that look like
they were not operating under the interministerial committee.
Similar situation happened during the time.
Richard, I said that don't be rubbing your head.
You put in place,
don't be rubbing your head.
And
so your question, Abena, your question is simply this: President Mama went to Obasi and said, "Look, when I come, because it's totally unjust. It is not a manifestation of the motto of Ghana, freedom and justice, when you treat people equally circumstanced differently."
But they were tried in the law courts.
Yes, but why?
And the courts found them guilty.
Why didn't they try Aisha 1? Because they were equally circumstanced. They were engaging in Galamsey. Aisha 1 was engaging in Galamsey. So why didn't they try Aisha 1? If Aisha 1 did not need to stand trial, why do you think that the Ghanaians needed to stand trial? I'm just talking about the requirement of justice. And not to see the injustice there. That's why President Mama is saying that, look, this level of injustice must not be allowed to continue in this country. And when I come, I will exercise my right, my authority under the Constitution to grant pardon to those people who have been incarcerated. So what's wrong with that? Because he wants to remedy a defective situation, a defective delivery of justice in this country under Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo.
So will he clamp down on illegal small-scale miners?
Look,
when he's voted?
Because these people did not understand what was happening in the small-scale mining sector. We had said Ghana has a responsibility to provide employment for its citizens. That's why we said only Ghanaians.
So they can also mine illegally?
No. So we established a requirement at the Minerals Commission, including the district mining authorities that we established, to vet applications for mining licenses. And we granted licenses. So in clamping down on illegal small-scale mining, anytime we went to the mining site, those at the mining site had a responsibility to provide their what? Their permit for mining. What did Nana Akufo-Addo do? That is why they have failed abysmally. And when they did that, I told them they will fail. Because, again, another injustice perpetrated against Ghanaians. Why do you treat those who lawfully acquired permits like they are criminals? By banning all licenses that were acquired. Why do you do that? The other thing is the height. Yes, that's what happened. They just banned. No, Aditya, I don't think you are part of the MPP.
I'm part of the MPP.
They just banned, when they came, they just banned all activities at the small-scale mining sector. So it means those who had acquired licenses.
It was for a period because of the water bodies.
After what period? 2 years.
It was for a period.
2 years.
It wasn't a permanent ban.
No. What period? It was banned indefinitely until the Interministerial Committee on Small-Scale Mining said that they had put in place a system, and those who wanted to mine should reapply.
Which is now being done.
So it means that all that time that those who had licenses had been banned, they had been treated like criminals.
Oh, come on, how can you say that?
That's true.
That's not true.
I have a permit. You are a businessman. Yeah. You have an import license. Some people are importing goods into this country with a license. And instead of dealing with those who are importing goods into this country, piracy, they decide that anybody who has a license to bring wax prints will not be able to bring wax prints into this country for a period, for an indeterminate period. That is treating you like a criminal. That is treating you like a pirate.
Someone has a message for you, Richard. He says water is not running in our tap since yesterday in North Kanishi.
Oh, but even Richard misinformed the public
during the day from 6 a.m. So the MPP that promise. Okay.
I think he even misinformed the people.
You respond to that.
Even misinformed the people. We paid for the water. The people of Ghana paid for water for the marginalized. We gave them $275 million.
When you were
we gave them $275. This is not from Nana Akufo-Addo. This is not from Nana Akufo-Addo.
The thing that Mr. Mama is talking about,
Parliament approved
is going to use
Parliament who set up the stabilization fund?
Oh, please.
Who set it up?
Please.
Parliament said Nana Akufo-Addo would take $275 million from the stabilization fund to be able to grant water
before the messages.
I'll not let him do that to you, so please allow. Randy from Kumasi says, I think the 5 disqualified aspirants were right candidates to qualify, but because of a state sponsor, parties like GCPP, LPG, and GFP, okay, you say they were disqualified. Thank you for your messages. This is the big issue on City TV. Richard, I'll let you have your response to that. We need to take a break. When we return, you make your point. We'll be back shortly. Don't go away.
We like
Sunana Abdulrazak. Last week, I received a message from Bed Planet. Come on, now win golden ticket. Then Jin say, Mercedes Benz in there. Omba Kuyadaba Kuma, Gashina, Gasuna Nakai. Ongana Gora come on Beskiani. Mona Sunchi, now go to Bed Planet. Now go to
Makua. If you win, no one win like Bed Planet. My baby, oh no. If you win, no one win like Bed.
You're welcome back to the big issue on City TV. Radio has had to take some commentary. The English Premier League is on, so this is City TV. If you're watching us on Facebook too, thank you for joining us. Richard, so just make your point on that.
I think Mr. Mohammed's policies are election gimmicks, and they are not thought through.
Okay.
And I will give you reasons to that assertion. When Mr. Mahama was the president, a good number of these illegal miners were arrested, and some of them were prosecuted and are serving jail terms. Some of them are finished serving their terms. When Mr. Mahama was the president, he never saw the need to free them. Now, under this government, he's talking about, I do not even know the number of people. I remember some time ago, he made similar assertion that there are pastors who have been jailed because they broke some COVID-19 protocols, when he wasn't even aware that all of them were granted presidential pardon. So there was not even a single pastor in jail or in prison anywhere. But he was going about like that because he wanted to harvest votes. But those things will not work. The second point is that we have a major challenge at hand. And I think Honorable Inusah Fuseni would be one of the individuals who can talk to these issues because he was a minister in that area. And he saw the challenges that confronted him, the difficulties that he inherited. But you see, there were things that they could not do. When we came, we've done them and done them beautifully. That now the mining sector is working.
Honorable, let him talk, please.
Excavator business.
You continue making your point.
Do that. Not a single MPP person went and went in excavator.
There were things we couldn't do.
There were teams that were put together. This interministerial task force and also the Operation Vanguard team, we were made up of military and the police that did that and did the coordination. Along the line, some people became too excited and bent one or two. But those people
and kill some.
Those people have to face the law, and those issues are being dealt with. Beyond that, along the line, we had the NDC go about the press conference that we could not locate excavators. About 5 million excavators have been lost. How many excavators do you even have in this country for you to talk about it? The next also 300, the next also 3,000. Now we've been told that not even a single excavator cannot be found. All those excavators that they could not find them, they've located
we
them.
Didn't say that.
The owners are being given to them, and all those investigations that needed to be done are ongoing. So for the MPP, we conducted ourselves very well in terms of that area.
Okay.
But what we can tell the Ghanaian is that, I mean, look at the NDC, what they promise you. Remember that this election is about track record. That is why we are not interested in insults. We are not interested in raining insults and insinuation on anybody, castigating the NDC and their character. Because we know that in terms of being bad, they are extremely bad. But we are not going to talk about that. We are talking about what it is that we've done and what they did when they were in power. We're taking it sector by sector. Then when it comes to infrastructure, what did they do?
So what is the debate coming?
You understand that? I mean, we're doing it. When it comes to agri sector, we have been
waiting for it. I'm waiting for
for the first time in our history, we are not importing certain basic things.
Oh, now you want to debate Amakwata?
But it says sector by sector.
Sector by sector. Then you debate Asumache Meeting.
Yes. When they were in power, they were struggling. When people Cudjoe were being imported. Yes, ladies.
On which day?
I said that from here, I don't trust anybody from here.
But all these things have been is in abundance. Now we are seeing that the city has never been as stable as it is now. Inflation is under control. Now we are looking at the growth of the economy during this COVID time. It tells you that this government understands what it's doing.
Okay.
Now, beyond all the things that we talk about, government businesses to create an enabling environment for businesses to thrive. And I think this government has done excellently well in that regard, because businessmen will tell you that before this government came into power, you are contracting loans at 31, 32, 33, sometimes 35%. How will you do any proper business and make any better profit out of this? Now we are seeing a reverse. Interest rates have gone down because of the monetary policy and how it's being managed. When the NDC was in, now we have been told that
is that the monetary policy? I thought business, I thought interest rates. Where are a businessman?
The NDC is even telling the NDC is
telling us. I can only listen to one person at a time, please.
That when they come, they're going to pay men's good customers. And I said to them, really, when the NDC was in power, we had over 80 microfinance institution companies collapsing. And those not a single of such people.
Where?
DK, what is now and their siblings? They have all the bunch of.
So you're talking about DK and not
they are part of them. They are part of the 80. And the NDC could not even fulfill that.
No, it's not true.
Today they are telling us that when they come, they're going to pay footballers.
You see,
I know NDC, God forbid. But if in 100 years, if NDC come to power and we are alive, I'm sure you set up a football team. Because the point is that we have been told that anybody who forms any football team anywhere, the players every month they're going to get 1,500 Ghana cedis. I mean, look at that. What kind of policy is that?
That's not what we are talking about today. Frankly, I'm sure you've heard about John Mahama saying that the people who are arrested for illegal mining will be granted amnesty. Do you see a just cause or just political talk?
Well, you know, this is the season of the silly, and so you hear all manner of things. But I think former President Mahama's point, I suspect, is coming from the background Honorable Inusah gave, that the seemingly selective treatment of people who were engaging in illegal mining or galamsey may have been the reason behind President Mahama's repost. And I suspect that you can't quarrel with that reign. I mean, if that is his grounding, then obviously it does matter. Especially also when the tax force that was said to be inspecting these things and halting all the processes were themselves reportedly several times engaged in the same enterprise and pocketing the revenues, right? Illegal revenues. So you cannot in one breath be delegitimizing an action, and at the same time having assigns of either the government or some agent provocateurs or people who are just benefiting from the temporary ban, benefiting from it. We all had saw videos where some sector ministers were found to be more or less culpable in the whole enterprise. So I suspect that's where he's coming from. And of course, if even ordinary people would make mincemeat of the whole idea that Ashawan was disinterested in the state and allowed to leave. So you cannot be treating your own citizens in an unfair manner. Look, I think the problem with illegal mining, or so-called illegal mining, is one of access to finance to be able to do mining productively. If it costs close to $500,000 to be able to buy those machines and set up properly, how many Ghanaians are able to afford that, right? It's the only reason why they farm out some of these concessions through partnership with the Chinese, who like to do the Chinese, if we give them an inch, they will definitely go a mile. And you can't fault them anyway. I mean, it happens with every foreigner as well. Even every human being, if you give them inches, they may take miles if you are not interested in protecting or guarding against the rules the rules you yourself have propounded. So for me, I think we should fix the ability of the Ghanaian to be able to benefit from mining and stop this whole high-sounding rhetoric that mining is only for Ghanaians. It must be made only for Ghanaians with the wherewithal. And so that includes making sure that they have cheaper access to credit, which can ensure that they can mine sustainably. And then finally, Honorable Inusah will agree with me, since it's a lands person, that one of the major problems of mining is also the issues of property right, identify right. Why should I get a mining concession in Iselulu, Kumasi, and then while waiting for my money, somebody goes and then starts mining under it simply because the person bypassed the processes, came to Accra, and got blessings from a minister. I think it's archaic, really, to suggest that mining licenses, the way they are ordered right now, can take us really forward.
Franklin, our time is fast spent, but we have to touch on the issue at Chimbatebi in our cinema. So unfortunately, 22 people died when that church building collapsed on Tuesday. Richard, have we done enough as a country to deal with such disasters when they happen?
I'm not sure we've learned lessons the way we should. Particularly in this particular issue, because I remember, I think then President Mills was the President, Malcolm, right? And we have to bring some Israelis to assist us and all that. We've seen other ones happen, but I think that we haven't done good to ourselves. And I think when people are also headstrong, because I drive around and I see buildings with inscriptions, pull down, stop working and all those stuff. And still people continue to do that. I would want to express my condolences to the family of these people that we've lost. And I think that going forward, we need to do more. We need to make sure that institutions that have to do that work, because when it comes to that, we were looking at the local assembly. We want them to make sure that they go and implement these laws forcefully, because we cannot continuously watch on and lose people on this kind of. But you don't know what this book would have been. Because I remember they were told there was a kid.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't know. This could have been the next Akufo-Addo who we've lost. It could have been anybody else. So I think we need to watch out.
Honorable Inusah.
Well, that is why it is important that all institutions of state work together in sync to deliver quality to the people of this country. No one can put up a building without acquiring the necessary permits.
Have we done that so far?
That is why we are raising. That's why there are issues. So how did he get his permits? So which architect designed the building? Who was the building contractor? Who supervised the building? Now, so going forward, the Insurance Commission is recommending that henceforth, builders, some people who provide service, should take professional indemnity insurance for the services they provide us. So that if you if you design a building, you supervise the construction of the building, whether you are the owner of the building or the supervisor of the building, you are ultimately responsible for any damage that will occasion the public by reason of the delivery of that service. So that people will be held directly responsible for the outcome of their default or even failures. But now, Farmer Nyame has taken over this country. That every now and then, people are building with the necessary quantity of cement, stone, iron rods in the buildings. And then we pass them, knowing that they will collapse, they will crumble. You can't put something on nothing and expect that thing to stand. It will fall. It will fall. You see that thing? And so it pains. It pains that you, everywhere. I mean, if you are going to produce this, sanitizer, there's a responsibility on you.
Some standard.
The standard must be, so that people don't use it and get injured. Who is supervising that? Who is looking at that? And that is why what has happened. A church, and you know, a church is a common area. People go there to look for salvation. They don't go there to die. And you know, because of the hard situation in which Ghanaians are living, by reason of the MPP government.
On that note, thank you very much. Thank you. That's the Honorable Inusah Fuseni, Member of Parliament for Tamale Central. He was here with Richard Asante Yeboah, Government Spokesperson on Infrastructure. We were joined by Zoom. Franklin Cudjoe, President of IMANI Africa. Also, Barindo, Coordinator of the Nigerian Youth in Ghana. Henry Shield also joined us in Nigeria, as well as Chukemeka, the Executive Director of the West Africa Network for Peacebuilding. Thank you so much for watching and listening to The Big Issue today. This is your Election Bureau. My name is BAbena Nyamekye Ampadu. Goodbye.
You know, election years, they're exciting because electorates, for every small thing, they will threaten that they will not vote. You know, for example, I mean, someone would drive from Tema to Adenta to buy his or her favorite watch just to get there and find out that Charlesana watching 8 times as a son. Next thing, they will use it and writing on social media, no watching, no vote, because if the economy is being managed better, Anka, that particular watch, must be saved all day. You know, somebody's boyfriend didn't send Momo in time. No Momo, no vote. Like your tap is not flowing, no tapping, no vote. Like your landlord has increased your rent by 10 cities, right? Yes, rent, no vote. You have choked your drinks, your gutter, with old fridges and mattresses. Odoko people, how are you? Your houses are now flooded after the rains. Yes, flooding, no voting. But politicians, they are masters of our emotions, and they know how to strip us in line. The moment the balloting thing is done, hey, come and see. Everybody, and Asio, and Vivio, and down Hosro, what is that? The most exciting one I've heard so far is for family and friends, Prez wine. For big Papa No Bush, +2. For comic relief, +3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. It's a long one, but that's what I've heard. So exciting. Congratulations to Kiadonko, Osofo Bosom, Hassan Ayarga. I'm proud of you guys. And I can tell you, the battery is still their loss. I know. Yeah, his opponents say he has been gunned down. But guys, would you say one more night for gun? And I said, Musi, he has been gunned down totally. Total gun down. Welcome to the show. This is Backpage on City TV. My name is Caleb Kuda. On DSTV, you'll find us on channel 363. Before we delve into the matter, open and close now, ladies and gentlemen, let's dedicate the show into the hands of the living God. Oh, la wula wula we la zulo.
No, I think James Michael's grandchildren are doing the most. No, the woo, 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 woo is what killed me eventually. I loved it. But guess what? I think we can use this particular one for praises this Christmas convention, you know. La hasulo, you know. That's a la woo, woo. La hasulo, just a la woo, woo. And you see the dance? Charlie will spoil there. But someone can actually raise a song and there will be no key in the world for it. I'm telling you, only in our world, my goodness, so pete for life. No two ways about that. And my brother hustle, because and yes, sir, you can spend all your time doing 4 more for Nana and big push for JMA. Even if your party wins and bro, your PC 10 MP is your buddy. It will happen that he can change his phone number. I'm telling you, I've seen some before. So just take note. Hustle. Now, since the electoral process started now, this is the first time I have seen the NDC and the NPP all happy at the same time, after the same process, produce different results. Even then, crowd, the NDC had to prepare our minds for some, you know, to believe that some mischief or some mistrust, something, just something.
To remove the element of bias, it is just fair that we see how the ballot is prepared in front of us. It's just 1 to 11. It is for this reason why